Tego. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. I hope everyone's doing fantastic today, or I hope you're having a good week if you're listening to this in the middle of the week, because I know that not everyone's going to listen to this on day one, you know? But the day one listeners, shout out to you. So yeah, we got a few things to talk about this week. It was actually relatively a quiet week for news once again. But hey, you know, I mean, it's not like I'm going to take a week off because there's not a lot of news. There's still things that I've been doing, and of course, games I've been playing. So let's go ahead and sit back, relax, and listen to some video game news occurrences, first impressions, reviews, and more on Ferret 64 with me, Yemmy the Ferret. Let's start off this episode with the usual what have I been playing this past week. Starting us off this week is Remnant 2, which is a game that I was pretty excited for. You know, I thought that the first game is honestly one of my favorite Souls-like experiences. You know, obviously it's Dark Souls with guns. But there's a really big twist to the gameplay, which is, each playthrough's kind of random. Sometimes you get this seed, sometimes you get the other one. It was pretty much just like one or the other for the most part, right? There wasn't too much different other than like, you know, you would get this boss instead of this one, right? And there were some areas that were a little bit different too, but it was either one or the other. Right. So it wasn't like there was like 15 different possibilities. It was one of two possibilities that you could get for each area that you go through. But that was unique and that was cool and that was interesting. And I really enjoy that about the first Remnant game, Remnant from the Ashes, and also just the ability to kind of make your character the way you kind of want to with, you know, multiple weapons that you can choose from, a few different classes you can start off with, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty good boss fights in there. I know a lot of people complain about the tree boss fight, the Ent. And yeah, I get it. It's like a stopgap for early players, especially on that seeding. But you know, I got past it, so get good, I guess. I don't know. It's hard. Like, I hate saying that, but it's like, you know, I mean, some of these fights are going to be a little bit more difficult than others, obviously. And I'm feeling the same way with Remnant 2, and actually double that. Like, Remnant 2, it has the same foundation as Remnant 1, where you kind of meet like a couple characters that you knew from the last game, right? The armor guy, the mod lady who can make you mods, you know. And you also meet a few other characters as well throughout the prologue. And I will say this, don't judge the game on that first, like, hour-long tutorial / prologue, right? Like, please don't judge the game on that, because it is sorely lacking in good writing, and it's sorely lacking in good character animations. The game as a whole looks beautiful. Like, there's a lot of different areas you go to, and they look great. But for some reason, during that, like, whole first section, like the character models and stuff like that didn't look that great. You know, in general, I think the writing was pretty poor, and just the sequence of events was just kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, bleh. But after that first hour, when you get to your first world, you know, that's where things really open up, and they go, here you go. We have nothing to guide you other than find this person, find that person, and maybe you'll meet another person or creature in the world to give you another objective along the way, right? And it's much less linear than Remnant from the Ashes. Now, it still does have a certain path that it wants you to follow, but there's way more dungeons, side content, different areas to go into. And right off the bat, also, like, you know, you can get thrown into a few different worlds. I got thrown into, like, this almost elvish library type place where you find this, like, jester who's juggling, and he gives you a magic feather that can, you know, draw on these walls and open up new doors for you to go through, and they can lead to this town that's like burning, and there's people covered in ash who light themselves on fire and they run at you. And it kind of reminded me of Bloodborne a little bit at times too, which is cool. A lot of cool visuals there. On the opposite end of that, I joined Greedy Waffles, and we played his game. And in his game, he meets like this noxious gas spewing slug guy, and he tells you to collect some souls or whatever. And you go into this like really desolate, wide open area. If you stray too far from the path, you start to throw up. There's like robots and drones flying around. There's also tons of different creatures and stuff like that. And each of the sub areas are kind of like these little kind of maze and puzzle areas that you go into until you finally get around to the main objective of the area. And the nice thing is, main objectives have square doors on the map, and side areas or dungeons are rounded. So that's how you can tell which is which, right? And I think that's a really good idea because, let's say you don't want to do the main objective just yet. You can, say like, oh, there's a square door there in front of me. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go into the other door, the one that's rounded, or I want to go to this area that I haven't explored yet. One of the things I've noticed with the game is it loves to give you rings, and it loves to give you just kind of like areas with nothing in it too. So you're either gonna find a purple ring or you're gonna find nothing when you go to an area you haven't explored yet, which is kind of disappointing in a lot of ways because, like, the rings, even though they're cool, I'd rather find like a gun like in the first game, or a special mod or something like that. Those have been, the mods and the guns are still restricted to the bosses, the main bosses, I should say. There are some side bosses who give you a mod or a new weapon here or there, but mostly the main bosses are going to be the ones that are going to give you the cool weapons. Like, in the first game, I always talk about this fire wolf who gives you a fire gun, and that was like the best gun in the game, in my opinion, and I used that all through my playthroughs. And when he didn't show up, then I was sad because I didn't have my favorite gun, our favorite weapon, right? In this one, it hasn't gotten that way yet. There is like the poison sprayer, which is okay, but I've just kind of been using the base assault rifle for my character, and I've been using like a sidearm pistol, so I haven't really been using anything too special other than the mods that you get from the bosses. And you can also find tomes again, which are these books. They're blue. They glow blue, and those are your ability points. You level up certain attributes, and boom, bada bing. That's what increases your level in the game. So, this is a pretty forgiving. Well, okay. I will say when you die, it's pretty forgiving because you don't really lose anything, right? I think you lose scrap, but that's about it. You don't actually lose like your tomes or your upgrade points. So if you're looking for a little bit more of a forgiving experience in a Souls game, this is definitely right there with the original Remnant and like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. But where this game does split and has a difference from the original game and those other ones I mentioned is there is a steep difficulty curve in this one. I played a lot of Remnant from the Ashes. Okay, like I said, it's one of my favorite Souls. Like, it's probably my favorite Souls like that I've played. And the enemies in those games kind of slow moving. They're horde like. They kind of gang up on you. And you will run into the occasional enemy or boss that has for some reason gone sicko mode, right? But in Remnant 2, every enemy is in sicko mode. And I don't know if it's just because I'm not used to it yet, but I feel like the dodging is a bit finicky. You dodge something and you'll still get hit, even though I know that there's frames of invincibility in there because I've dodged things perfectly before, and the blade or a shot has gone right through me. So I feel like it's a bit of a different, maybe it's a timing issue. Maybe it's a bit of a different timing to press the button to dodge, because there are times when I dodge and I feel like I'm still in the middle of my roll and the enemy will hit me, and it's actually quite detrimental to get hit. I know, big surprise, but in Remnant from the Ashes, enemy hitting you didn't really. You lost some health, but you could take a couple hits. In Remnant 2, I feel like you can take about 3 hits and your health bar is depleted, especially starting off the bat. Bosses do massive amounts of damage. If you get hit once, good luck recovering sometimes, you know. I've had it where like the kind of like the elite enemies will just kind of have a combo on you and you won't be able to do anything. You'll be kind of stun locked there, which can be a little bit frustrating at times, especially because you see your health getting eaten away and there's really nothing you can do about it. You pull out your Dragon Heart, which is your healing flask. In this one, you have 3 charges from the get go. And that obviously slows you down immensely. So you have to make sure that the boss or enemy isn't aggroed against you before using it, because you are open to an attack. Just like the first game, it's one of the great equalizers in the Remnant series is using the healing item. You know, you can quickly use other items like quick items from your inventory, but that dragon's heart is at least a 5 to 10 second healing time. And of course, in the first game, there was a trait you could find that would quicken that. So I'm guessing the same thing is going to be in this game. We haven't found it yet, but I have found a few other attributes, which I feel like some of them are useless, you know, but I digress. So, going back to the start of the game, once you get done with the prologue or halfway through it, I would say, they have you choose your class, what class you want to be, and there's a plethora of classes to choose from. I pretty much have gone over every single one in past episodes. I chose the handler, or is it hunter? I think it's hunter or handler, and that's the one where you have the dog with you, and you can pet the dog. Your ally, your co-op partners can pet the dog. The dog will attack enemies for you. Once you level up the dog, he can heal you and have more powerful attacks and stuff like that. So he's very useful. He can also take your dragon's heart and heal you if you go down in the middle of a fight, which is also really cool. I really like that idea. Um, he's kind of all over the place, you know. It's a dog in the game. There's other classes that have more health or better melee attacks, or there's actually like a medic class that has like an LMG. There's the gunslinger class that I've talked about before. He's like a Western Ranger kind of guy. He has abilities for quick shooting and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of class types that was that all were enticing, I will say, and I definitely would like to try out a different class in the future after I'm through with my original playthrough here. But the handler has been great. I've been enjoying his character setup. And of course, you can, once you go through like the first part of the game, you can buy any weapon from the starting classes that you want. So if you want to try the LMG from the medic class, you can do that. You just got to buy it with scrap and stuff like that. And of course, you upgrade your weapons, mod them, stuff like that. Right now, I'm using a mod that shoots out like alien spawns. Right, there's like every single shot has like a chance to spawn an alien. So those do like 40 damage, explosion damage or whatever. There's of course basic ones like, oh, your bullets are on fire now, or oh, this one is a healing shot. You can shoot it at the ground and then it'll explode and heal you and your allies. So there's the basic ones, and then there's one that you get from bosses, which are pretty cool too. And also like there's weapons you can craft from bosses as well. Like I mentioned before, the poison gun. That came from one of the enemies in Greedy Waffles playthrough, or bosses in his playthrough. So it's nice that you can you can go to other people's playthroughs, get their kill the bosses with them, take your guns back to your own game, and you can get through stuff maybe a little bit easier, or maybe it'll be at about the same amount of challenge. As I said before, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, this game feels much more difficult, especially if you're playing solo, than it ever did before in Remnant from the Ashes. And I played Remnant from the Ashes solo quite a lot. Greedy Waffles and I played it together, of course, but I also played it solo a few times. There really wasn't a difference. Maybe a couple more enemies, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like it was about the same amount. Same thing with this game, Remnant 2. I feel like the enemies are, it's about the same number of enemies. Maybe there's a few more mixed in. I don't think so, though. Especially after Greedy Waffles joined my game the next day after we were in his game. I really honestly feel like it's just the same amount in each game. But I mean, so far it seems pretty balanced, though. I feel like a lot of the enemy that's just fodder can be taken out pretty quickly. But once those elite guys start coming in, you got to focus your fire and got to watch out for them. And even though the dodging is finicky, I feel like I really only use the dodging once in a while when enemies get too close or a boss is in the arena. Um, and there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of maybe I didn't say this. There's a lot of enemy variety in the game, especially through multiple playthroughs. You're gonna find lots of different enemies. From kind of like twig looking humanoid characters who have rifles and swords and stuff like that, to like these slug type monsters that fall from the ceiling, to the elvish monsters who have like these rainbow wings on them. There in Greedy's game, there was like alien parasites, and there was these like crusty old tall figures, and there was like these gelatinous like balls of flesh that had armor over their hearts they had to shoot off. Like, there's a lot of enemy variety so far, especially within the two playthroughs that we're doing right now, which does keep things interesting. You're fighting robots here, you're fighting grotesque monsters there. You're fighting you're going into the world of Alien and literally fighting these creatures with acid blood. It's one of those things that's like, yeah, we definitely a lot of enemy variety, a lot of good stuff going on there. And once again, it's all beautifully rendered, and everything looks beautiful in the game. Like, they definitely I mean, it's an indie developer, and it's very impressive just how good they managed to make this game look. They definitely worked really hard on it, and unlike Jedi Survivor, game hasn't crashed on me. I've had no frame rate dips at all. I think I had maybe one glitch. I don't think it was really a glitch though. I think an enemy just got caught in a wall or something like that. But for the most part, it's been a pretty smooth experience. Like, nothing crazy going on, and that's something to commend, especially in a year like this where we've had several broken games all in a row, from Redfall, Jedi Survivor, and Lord of the Rings Gollum. Like, there's three games right there that are just like they were completely broken or almost broken at launch. I would have liked Jedi Survivor way more if I just didn't have those frame rate drops and the game didn't crash on me. And I feel like they just needed a little bit more time in the oven on that. I mean, another year on Redfall probably would have made that a much better experience. Gollum, just don't release that, I guess I would say. But with Remnant 2, like, it's nice. It's nice to buy a game and download it and play it and have no issues, really. I'm sure the next time I boot it up, though, of course, knock on wood, I'm probably gonna have an issue. Like, I'll probably have a crash. But as of right now, as I'm recording this, I have not had a crash. I think, like I said, I think I've had like one glitch maybe. But everything's looked great. Everything's played great. And what more could you want? From a sequel to a game that I really enjoy, this one's been good so far. It's starting to kind of pull me in now that I kind of get what they're going for. Because there's a little while there where it's like, wow, this is like confusing. Like, there's so many doors to go through. It's not clear your main objectives, like where you need to go. And I think they did that on purpose to kind of really make you feel like you're playing like a Dark Souls game, because there's a lot of Souls games that kind of have a linear path nowadays. I've played a couple of them, and this is definitely one of those ones that harkens back to that original Dark Souls, where they're like, hey, here's here's the world after the tutorial. Of course, here's the world. You can go anywhere you want. You can go to the hardest place that you want to. Not like that in this game entirely, but it is kind of like that, where it's like, okay, you have all these doors you can go through. Some of them are dungeons. Some of them are main paths. You choose what you want to do. You choose what order you want to tackle this in. If you want to tackle the dungeons at all, that's up to you. So that's that. Thought I might as well talk about it, because it has been not really a mixed bag, but there's been some stuff that has kind of been irking me about the game, like the dodge, and that opening tutorial segment that was like almost an hour long really started off the game a bit in the negative, I will say that, but it quickly turned a lot better once you got done with that section. and you touch the world stone for the first time and get sent to a random world, and that's where the game really opens up and shines. So if you have the game and you play the tutorial and you're like, oh my god, don't worry, it gets better. If you didn't mind the tutorial, that's great. I'm glad. Or if you're going to get the game, just be warned that that first hour is a bit rough. It's just a little rough, right? It's not rough in the sense like, oh, you're going to be bored to tears. I mean, it goes by fast enough, but it's still one of those things that's like, you got to just kind of get through it. I'm wondering if on multiple playthroughs they'll allow you to skip that. I mean, that's what most games do, especially if there's a new game plus option. But as me, I wanna actually make a different character with a different class. So I'm wondering if I'll have to play through that section again. Plus, they give you like a free boss kill in there as well with that they'll give you a free mod. So I guess there's pluses and minuses to it, but in the end, it's been good. I was gonna say okay, but it's been better than that. It's been good, and it's getting better as I understand what they're going for and what we need to do. And so far, we've fought a couple big bosses. The one was like this parasite that went into these like fleshy gas bags, and you had to find the right one. There is a good amount of enemy spam in this game. It definitely reminds me of the Ent fight, where just tons of enemies drop down, and you had to deal with those along with the Ent itself. So they definitely have upped the ante a lot in this one, because it's still kind of like an enemy spam in a lot of times, but that's Remnant for you. I feel like that's kind of the what you sign up for in this kind of game, especially because you have the ability to kind of keep enemies at bay with your assault rifle and your guns and stuff like that. So they gotta kind of counter that by having an overwhelming force attack you. But anyway, we fought like a slug that was like a parasite. We fought like this like floating orb that was like in the sewers that embodied the god. It was like called like the god of stench or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called. It was kind of a weird fight. We also fought this big guy um, who kind of goes crazy on you after you do some missions for him. So, like I said, so far it's been pretty good. I like the little dungeon areas, and yeah, I would definitely, if you like Souls games and you liked Remnant from the Ashes, it's definitely going to be one that you want to try out at least and play around with. So far, it's been good for me. I'm giving it a thumbs up. All right. I've been playing a lot more Pikmin 4. I got Pikmin fever right now. When I'm not streaming or playing a game with Greedy Waffles, I'm usually playing Pikmin. I don't tell my boss, but I've been bringing my Switch with me along with me into my car. And when I have some downtime, like an hour of downtime, I'll just play some Pikmin. And I gotta say, like, as a person who hasn't played Pikmin since that first game, there's so much to love about this experience. And even if you're not a fan of Pikmin, or like, let's say you've never played a Pikmin game, I definitely think that's worth picking up, especially if you enjoy like the management style of Pikmin, where it's like, okay, you got to kind of divvy out your forces, and you have to, you send some Pikmin into this hole to mine it, and then you send some Pikmin over there to, attack an enemy, or you ram into an enemy with Ochi the dog, and they all attach to them and kill them faster because it's one fell swoop. There's so much in this game that one makes it more palatable for people because there's not a time limit. There's not like it's much different from the original games, while also still having a lot in common, right? But once again, there's no time limit, which is great. I always like when I was playing that game when I was a kid, the time limit stuff really killed me. And I know probably nowadays, if I did play the game again, which I probably will, because I like Pikmin 4 so much, I would probably do better at that because in the original game you have 30 days worth. You are on this planet for 30 days, and if you don't fix your rocket by then, you have to restart or whatever. The second game kind of the same thing, except it added like the underground sections, right, and stuff like that. The third game, I don't believe that there was a time limit. I'm just going off of what I kind of I know or I've heard about the game. I'm pretty sure there's 3 separate characters that you use, and they all gonna have their own Pikmin groups that follow them around or something like that. But I think the time constraint is gone from that game, if I remember correctly. And they did the same thing with this one, where you kind of have unlimited days to find all the crew, all the castaways, Olimar himself. And doing these Dandori, I think it's called Dandori, like uh challenge missions is really cool. Kind of really makes you think about the management of the Pikmin, and making sure they are all doing something, and not having anyone kind of sitting around, yourself included, not just sitting around and doing nothing. The battles with the the evil leaf guy, are also pretty cool. It's not. I had said that it kind of reminded me of the brutal legend sections where you like defend, or you attack and defend, whatever. It's not exactly like that. I mean, it's kind of similar in some ways, but it's not. So essentially, you can like battle the other guy, and you can take out his dog for a couple seconds, and you can steal stuff from his Pikmin by launching more. It's one of those things that's like it's a battle of attrition, pretty much, just trying to get the most stuff, and it's been really fun. I really enjoy those moments, and I finally did the nighttime missions, where you get like the ghost Pikmin, or the glow Pikmin. And that's also a pretty cool section. The first like few levels are kind of basic, where it's like, okay, just gather all the Pikmin and then beat up all the enemies, right? But there's like these little bases that are kind of are on the outskirts that you have to defend, or you don't have to, but they can be defended. And I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think there's gonna be too many nighttime missions. Hope maybe, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that it's been a fun time. I'm really enjoying myself, and if you haven't yet, I would definitely recommend like checking out the demo, seeing if you like it. It's another one of those games where it's like, okay, you gotta get past that like tutorial stage, or that tutorial section. There's a lot of dialogue at the beginning, but then it kind of eases off of that unless you kind of do your thing, and that's essentially just finding and saving all the people, all the different little humanoid guys and gals. And yeah, it's just been fun. I've been really enjoying it. I can't wait to play more. I just got to the third area because I've been doing each area as much as I can. So the first area I have at 99% completion, and I know there's one like beetle that I let escape when I was originally going through it. So I kind of know where it is, but I don't want to waste a day right now going to that area and then leaving after I find the beetle, right? The second area requires you to have a certain Pikmin type to 100% it. So right now I'm at like 87%. There's one cave I haven't gone into because it has a cement wall that you need to bomb Pikmin for. And the third area is like the sandcastle area, which is really cool looking so far. I just kind of scratched the surface when I ended, before going and seeing the movie The Haunted Mansion. So I'm still working on that a little bit. I'm probably at like 2%. 2% or skim milk. That's an inside joke for only one person. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And if I mean, whether you like Pikmin or not, axe that from your brain. Try out the demo, see if it's something you vibe with, and get the whole experience if you like it, or if you're enjoying it. I don't want to guarantee, but I think that a lot of people will find this game really enjoyable. I think it's going to be the best-selling Pikmin game, and I know that's not going to be hard to do, but I think that this game in general is going to get a lot of people around to the Pikmin train. And once those 1 and 2 remakes come physically, I'm definitely going to pick up that, and I'm probably going to pick up the third game. I never got around to picking that one up. And I think that a lot of people are in the same boat as me, where it's like maybe they played Pikmin in the past and didn't really understand it because they were too young, or maybe it was too difficult for them. I don't know. Or maybe they just never played one in general, and Pikmin 4 is their first game they're picking up. Picking Pikmin up, picking up. Yeah, I think that. I think that. You'll definitely. I think that a lot of people are kind of doing that, where they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm interested in playing the other Pikmin games now that Pikmin 4 has kind of opened the door to me." And obviously, I know, and a lot of people probably know, like, yeah, it's not going to be like the same. It's going to be a little bit older, probably have some older controls, and you're not going to have Ochi around to ride on, right? But I think that in general, Pikmin 4, great game, still a great game, really enjoying it. Definitely check it out if you have any interest at all, or maybe not even a lot of interest. Just check it out. The demo, it's available. You don't have to buy anything. You just gotta download it to your console, and if you want to, you can buy the digital or physical version and continue from where you left off, which is always nice. On the streaming side of things, we played a couple of games, starting off this one with Call of Juarez Gunslinger. This is I mean, in my opinion, this is a hidden gem in a lot of ways. It's a first person Western shooter, arcade shooter. Essentially, it scores you on how well you do. How many headshots you get, how many quick kills you get, stuff like that. It's almost like Bulletstorm, which wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That conversation is coming up in a little bit. But I think that the action is very smooth. A lot of these kind of games will kind of be a little bit janky or a little bit, feel a lot worse than they should. And I think Call of Juarez Gunslinger really hones in that quick, fast action. It definitely, in my opinion, is a bit of an underrated first-person shooter. I think a lot of people kind of miss out on this one because it is in like this unknown series, and the last game that was in this series was a bit of a flop and scored pretty poorly. I think that was called Outlaws or something like that. But there's like 3 games in the series. The first 2 are Western, and the third one is Modern Police, which is really weird too. But this game really hit the nail on the head. I feel like everything is executed so well. Lots of different scenarios you go into, lots of different locations. From lumber mills to old western towns to trains. Running along trains, which me, I love trains. I love train levels, I should say. You go into caves and fight Native Americans and stuff like that. It's a lot of different stuff going on, and there's a lot of stuff that they actually pull straight from the history books, and of course, it's loosely based on a lot of the history, right? It's not like this stuff actually happened, but once again, it's just a really fun time. It's rooted in some sort of historical accuracy in there somewhere, and you can actually find collectibles that kind of explain the true story behind, or well, true quote unquote story, as much as we know, kind of story behind each of the characters. And you know what? One of the things that they also did, they referenced the Titanic, which is another like soft spot in my heart, right? So it's like this game's kind of hitting all cylinders for me. The only thing that I feel like the game didn't do well, actually, probably the only thing I would complain about is the fact that the characters never shut up. There's this overarching story where your character is talking to a group of people in a bar about his life, and he's going over all these stories, and sometimes they get mixed and flipped, and someone else corrects you or whatever, and things actually change in the game, which is good. I love that. You're walking through an area, and you're like, I was in a gunfight with some Indians, right? And the guy's like, "What Indians? You said you were fighting the Alton brothers or whatever, And he goes, "Oh, yeah, did I meant that." And so the characters change from the Native American model or the Cherokee or whatever they were to the Western guys, the guys you were fighting originally. So there's like funny and cool moments like that where the story changes, and so things in the game change. Sometimes you go into like this long ramble about, oh, if I went into the cave, there was a bunch of dynamite down there and blah 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 blah, and so you get transported back to what he actually did, which is go down the ladder. That was kind of scary that you didn't go down the first time. There's a few things like that are really funny. Back to my criticism, though, the characters just don't shut up. Okay, you're telling this story. It's a long-winded tale, and it seems like things just go on for way too long. 10 minutes later, we're still talking about this conversation. I'm shooting things, and things are happening on screen, but we're just having this long conversation that just never freaking ends. And that's the one thing that really annoyed me about this game. Not annoying enough to like make me viciously dislike it, because everything else in this game is hitting on all cylinders, and I still thought the story and premise was good. I just feel like they had these characters talking for way too long, and that's the thing that I just did not like about the game. But everything else is really good. I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I think it's really only available on like Steam, and then there's like some physical editions, quote unquote, of the game on Switch, but they were just codes in a box, which is kind of stupid. So I think it's been delisted on other platforms, though. I think you can still buy it on like the PS3 store and the Xbox 360 store. But I don't think it's available on PlayStation anymore, Xbox anymore. So you kind of got to dig for it a little bit or get a physical copy from the old days. But, I was playing it on PS3, and, as soon as I switched over to an actual, good controller, things went really smoothly. It played really nicely. There was a few frame rate issues here and there, but nothing to really, be annoyed about. And I thought that the game had a nice flow to it. Of the one thing I forgot to mention, there's like these duels that you do that are really cool too, where you have to like focus on the person who you're dueling, and you have to also move your hand closer to your gun as you zone in, and then you got to make sure that you don't fire until your gun's raised enough to shoot them, and then you also have like this dodge ability where you can dodge the first few bullets they fire, or you can try to. It's a really cool concept. I really enjoyed it, especially towards the end when there was like a Mexican standoff between two other people, and that was a pretty cool moment. Really, really, I like that mechanic a lot, and I feel like it maybe a bit underutilized in the game because there were these long sections where you do like a boss fight at the end of them, and then randomly it would just kind of cut the black, and then the guy would be like, and then he came out and we did a duel, and it's like, but didn't we just kill them? We got their health bar down to 0. Didn't we just kill them? But other than that, I mean, it's a really good game. So Call of Juarez Gunslinger, if you haven't tried it, or if you have it on a platform, if you got it for free or you bought it a while ago, check it out. You might like it. I really enjoyed it. I personally think it's underrated in a lot of ways in the FPS community. Definitely worth trying out for sure. Right after that, we played Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Went to this, and I was kind of like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to like this, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It was kind of panned critically. But hot damn, like this campaign for Black Ops Cold War is actually pretty good. It definitely reminds me of the old days with Black Ops 1 and 2. Definitely a lot of nostalgia bait and references to those games. Well, the first game. I'm pretty sure this game takes place between Black Ops 1 and 2, because Black Ops 2 takes place of course, it takes place in the way future at some point, but there's also some past stuff in there. So I believe that this game takes place smack dab in the middle of the two games, which is great because Black Ops 3 sucked, and Black Ops 4, you can't even count that because it was just multiplayer. So playing this game it really reminded me why I really enjoyed those original Black Ops games. And even though it's not better than those two games, I would say it's on the same level of quality as most Call of Duty campaigns can get. I mean, visually it looked great. It ran pretty poorly on the PS4, so if you're going to play it on the PS5, I'm not going to detract from the game for that. But I think that in general it looked great even on the PS4. It just ran a little bit sloppily, lots long load times and stuff like that. And I thought that the mission design and stuff like that, even though the missions were a bit long, I feel like there was enough going on that kind of kept them going in a positive way. There was a lot of times when, I was just playing, and I was going through a level, and it starts, and 30 minutes later, I'm still playing the same level, but I've done like 3 different things. You go from, an aerial assault on a compound to fighting in the streets in Vietnam, and then you get into another chopper, and you actually are able to control the chopper instead of just the minigun, right? So you're actually going through a section where you're flying the chopper. And the rest of the campaign never reached that level again, but it was still good enough that I was really enthralled and really enjoying my time with it. So if you have, I mean, it was free on PlayStation Plus. I think it's still free on PlayStation Plus right now, up until the first Tuesday of August. So make sure you add it to your account and check out the campaign. I think it's definitely worth a playthrough. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was actually pretty good, all things considered. And I mean, who would have guessed? The multiplayer was pretty fun too. Now that all the tryhards and stuff have left this game to go to Modern Warfare 2, the game, the community is lacking in the skill department. I will say that. I was able to just totally dominate the Nuketown. We played 2 rounds. I was totally dominating the one round. The second round, not as much, but still a good domination here and there. And I forgot how fun the Black Ops Cold War multiplayer was because I didn't really play. I mean, I felt like I really didn't play it, but there were some guns that I had leveled up to like level 30. And I'm like, wow, I don't remember playing this that much, but apparently I did, which is nice because, I was able to kind of use a wide range of weapons for a little while. I had a good amount unlocked, and Yeah, I mean it was a big surprise, and I'm not rating the game based on the multiplayer or the zombies mode. The multiplayer's fun though. Never, I mean I've never really been a fan of the zombies mode, not since like Black Ops 2. I enjoyed Infinite Warfare's zombies mode, but that's kind of been it. And this one I don't think I even tried the zombies mode back in the day. But the multiplayer's fun, but the campaign is also really tight, really good. I really enjoyed that. Definitely would recommend you trying out this, and I ended up giving it an A tier, the same as Call of Juarez Gunslinger. So there you go. And then finally, for this section, we played Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition, and for the first time ever, I went ahead and played with the Duke Nukem character. So you can switch out the original guy, Gray, for Duke Nukem, and he has a few different lines mixed in there, and they're really funny. I thought that it was a pretty, funny game still, but it does reach that cringe level at times, and also about I would say 3/4 of the way through, you find like the commander guy, General Serrano, and the game kind of takes a dive in like just fun factor, right? Leading up to that, really fun. You're fighting these two different factions. The mutants get thrown in there eventually, but you get kind of bored. The mutants aren't that fun to fight. The little spider creatures aren't that fun to fight. That whole section is a real snooze fest. And then you get to the end of the game and you fight like General Serrano's elite troops, and they're just really annoying and not fun to fight either. And I just, I felt like back in the day when I was young, I really, really enjoyed this game. I was raving about it back in the day. Nowadays, playing it, it's still fun. Like it's definitely worth playing at least the first half of the game, right? But there's a point where it just kind of gets stale, and it's still like, yeah, the combo system is still really fun. You get points for doing different kills types. You kick someone, shoot them, you get a bullet kill. You throw them into spikes and electrical wires. Use different weapons and guns and stuff like that, kill them in different ways, and that's all great. And that's actually like something that we really haven't seen since this game, since Bulletstorm. And I love that aspect of it. One of my favorite weapons is using that sniper rifle where you can guide the bullet into the enemy's head. And that's also really cool. I really like that idea. And there's a lot of good ideas in here, but I think there is a point where the execution starts to falter. And I think a sequel probably would have fixed a lot of the issues that I have with the game in terms of longevity and just like keeping you interested all the way through. But unfortunately, Bulletstorm as it stands, you get to that point in the game, and all of a sudden it just kind of becomes busy work. It feels like a drag, and you don't want that to happen. And of course they left this open for a sequel, which never will come, or maybe won't ever come. So yeah, I ended up putting this in C tier because even though it's still enjoyable at times, and most of the time, it does falter definitely towards the end, and the gameplay does kind of get a little bit stale as you go through. But it's still fun. Like I said, it's still worth trying out and playing. But it's one of those games that probably not going to pick this one up again after this. But it'll live in my mind palace for quite some time. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. All right. People have noted that the Red Dead Redemption logo has changed on the Rockstar Games website. Apparently, on July 27th, the Red Dead Redemption logo just kind of changed randomly. So the outline that borders Rockstar Games Presents Red Dead Redemption, it definitely got a little bit bolder. It got a little bit bolder. People are kind of in. This is just kind of adding fuel to the fire. I haven't talked about this a lot because I don't really like talking about rumors, even, no matter how heavy they are, right? But I gotta talk about it now because it seems like all these rumors are starting to stack up. So, a person came out on Twitter, said, "Hey, the Red Dead Redemption logo has changed." and they also updated the website's UI with a new code name for maybe a secret a remaster of Red Dead Redemption. So essentially, the code name RDR1RSP, which people are guessing is Red Dead Redemption 1 Remaster single player, is the new code name embedded in this logo's name, right? It could also mean, something completely different, but there's been some heavy rumors and speculation that they've been working on this in secret after they supposedly shelved it. I'm guessing that they re-upped working on it, especially because Red Dead Redemption 2 is still very, very popular. So recently, there was a new rating in Korea for a Red Dead Redemption remaster. And also there was some evidence about a revival of the project in an official announcement that could take place next month. That was kind of speculated from someone who has an inside source, right? Um, it also was spotted that Take-Two, a company that Rockstar owns, plans to release 2 new iterations of previously released titles in 2024. So this could possibly be the remaster of Red Dead 1 and the remaster of Grand Theft Auto 4. Obviously, things were shelved after the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition had such a poor reception, which, I mean, Rockstar Games should really just be blaming themselves for that one, even though it's better now, of course. When that launched, it was just a mess. And rightfully so. People were aggravated. These are the GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas are 3 of like the most popular and most loved games of all time, and they just kind of farted out like this phone port edition of the games, and that's not what people wanted. That's not what people expected from Rockstar Games. So I'm guessing that they re-upped Red Dead at least. In the back, they're developing that in the background. I don't know about Grand Theft Auto 4, especially with Grand Theft Auto 6 coming around eventually. I feel like maybe they'll shelve Grand Theft Auto 4 for a while, but yeah, I guess we'll see in 2024 when that comes around. I remember playing Red Dead Redemption 1 on my Xbox 360. It was the second or third game I got after Modern Warfare 2 and Gears of War 2, I think, or 1. And I played it so much that my Xbox red ringed and overheated, but luckily it didn't die, and it's been still working to this day. Knock on wood. So definitely a lot of love for this game for me personally. Have you gotten around to playing the second game? I played it a little bit, and I loaded up on my new PC, which is actually what I'm using to record this right now. But I haven't gotten around to playing it fully, so I don't have opinions about it. All right, moving on. Xbox has officially said that consoles that are running emulators in the retail mode are going to be banned for 15 days as a warning. Emulators in retail mode are officially dead. Do not use them, or Xbox is going to ban your account for multiple days. So when the Series S originally started out, a lot of people were modding them. And adding on emulators in this retail mode. Essentially, you could add like Dolphin emulator and PS1 emulators and PS2 emulators and all that fun stuff on there. But back in April, Microsoft began blocking access to emulators through retail mode on 2 consoles, but it wasn't enough to fully derail the modding community. However, it's being reported that a significant number of users who are using retail mode on their Xboxes and accessing these emulators have been receiving 15-day bans. Now, if this was Nintendo, they would just ban it outright, But luckily, Xbox is smart, and they give you a warning saying, hey, you got to stop doing this because either they're getting in trouble or, they're going to, they're getting in trouble. That's probably the bottom line. So a person named Golden Sky, who is like the big honcho in the modding community for the Xbox emulation, went onto his Discord and announced that the team is halting any and all retail mode emulation permanently, urging players to remove the emulators from their consoles. Of course, you could still take advantage of emulation on the Series X and S if you go through the developer mode, but that's probably a bit more in depth than people wanted. It does this is this annoying? Yes. Does this suck for people who are using this for modding? Yes, but is it unexpected? No, I think that this was a long time coming, and Xbox was turning a blind eye to it for quite some time, but I'm guessing there was maybe something in the background legally that came up, and they said, all right, we got to kind of put the kibosh on this because we're going to get in trouble, and people are going to probably start having their accounts banned. So 15-day ban, not too bad, and it's also a nice like kick in the butt, like, hey, don't do this. We're giving you a chance. So I don't mind that at all. So if you are someone who's running mods on your Series S, I think Squid Daddy modded his. It's time to put the kibosh on that, or you're gonna get banned for a couple days. Also in Xbox news, they've officially updated the dashboard for the Series X and S, and also the Xbox One as well. The new home UI is rolling out, so you can update your console and get to the new UI. It is a little bit cleaner and a little bit more personalized from the last one. You can choose to have the image of the game display in the background. It kind of reminds me of like a PlayStation UI, except all the icons are towards the bottom instead of towards the top or middle, I guess you could say. But this does make it a little bit easier to see your library of games and your main pinned content. You can pin your games or the most recent game you're playing or your Xbox Game Pass profile. It has an option to change your background to match the game you're playing or highlighting. It improved game discoverability by introducing lists of games curated and personalized to you. It allows you to customize your experience by pinning your favorite games, groups, and system groups like Quick, Resume, and Home. Helps you find what's going on in your community through updated friends and community lists or rows. And it shows you what media apps and content are available via watch and listen, spotlighted list of entertainment apps. So not not a crazy update for sure, but I think it's a well received one. I think it looks a lot better than what it was, even though I didn't like mind the other iteration. I think this is much more presentation wise. I think this is much better because it is more personable. It has a little bit more personality to it than just the black background with the icons on it. So I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah, looks fine. Looks fine. All right, talking about rumors and leaks. This one's a pretty solid one. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the new one. The logo has leaked online through X, Twitter. So a user on Twitter reported that they saw a Monster Energy 6-pack that had the Modern Warfare 3 logo on it. And on the logo was Captain Price with what we can only assume is Makarov staring him down in the background in red. And this was on a bunch of different monsters at the store. They bought one and they were taking it home with them. And then also an image linked from possibly inside the packaging department of just a bunch of Monster Energy cardboard cutouts or cardboard packaging that is ready to be molded and folded into what they need to be. So it looks like this is definitely a strong leak here. Essentially, I mean, we're pretty close to that time where usually Call of Duty does announce their next game, and we've kind of known for a little while that it will be Modern Warfare 3. Which seems to be more of a large update to the Modern Warfare 2 because all your guns are going to carry over, which obviously makes sense because, I mean, the gun list on Modern Warfare 2 is pretty large, and it would be easier just to, link that all together with the multiplayer mode. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with the story. I wasn't, like, super satisfied with the way that they're kind of like reviving all these characters for nostalgia and then just like there's really no stakes because no characters really die on the good guys side. So I'm really hoping with Modern Warfare 3 something happens with these characters because it does get a little bit boring when it's just the bad guy or it's just the side character. I want some main, like, I had this problem with a lot of game series in the past, one of them not being Gears of War. I feel like Gears of War has a good has had a long-standing reputation of taking out characters who are main characters or side characters. It doesn't matter. And like Gears of War 3 is a perfect, it's a perfect example of like, hey, we took out a bunch of characters here, from kind of like the more side characters like the president or whatever to the more main characters like Dom. And I would love to see more games embrace that and like, hey, once a character dies, they're gone. Think of the original Modern Warfare trilogy. You have characters dying left and right, especially in the third game, and I feel like they really need to do that in this game. I feel like there needs to be more stakes here because, as it stands right now, the fan favorite characters who everyone loves, I don't see them going anywhere because they sell copies of the game. People love Ghost, people love Soap, people love Captain Price. Um, People like Makarov. Like there's a lot there that people are going to, just nostalgia bait essentially. Once again, there's a lot of stuff there that I can see selling this game, but we need more stakes. That's the one thing that I would say would need to be improved in the next iteration, which is going to be Modern Warfare 3 apparently. So we'll see. Eventually they're gonna release information about that. It looks like it's going to be next month. Um, will be the official really reveal along with the season 5 of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. All right, Ubisoft has reportedly canceled the sequel to Immortals Phoenix Rising, which used to be called Gods and Monsters, and they changed it to that name, which is unfortunate because I feel like Immortals Phoenix Rising was like the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the rest of us. It was this grand scope adventure that gave you a lot of tools and a lot of sandbox stuff with a bunch of main objectives and markers to kind of keep you going, right? And Breath of the Wild, say what you want about it. One thing it does not have is a strong direction, right? So Immortals Phoenix Rising kind of fixed that for me, and in turn, I really enjoyed the game because I actually had objectives that I was going for. I actually felt my character getting stronger through these multiple story beats and stuff like that, which I'm sure happens in Breath of the Wild. I'm just, I'm not going to say any more about that. But anyway, it's unfortunate that they canceled the sequel. It came out in a VGC report that the follow-up game was in development and then canceled earlier this month at Ubisoft Quebec. And according to their sources, the cancellation was due to perceived challenges around establishing the IP. The outlet noted that it sold a modest amount, but a lot of the sales came via discounted prices. Now, which is not a bad thing. Like, I feel like more people would be willing to buy a sequel after playing through the first game because I feel like that first game is really strong. I think it was like the third or fourth, my fourth favorite game of that year. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed my time with it. I thought that it was a great experience. I thought it had a fun art style and a fun world to explore. And honestly, I felt like it was better than Breath of the Wild for me personally. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked it out, I believe it's still on Game Pass, or maybe it's on that Ubisoft Plus service. But I think that the game is good. I think you should definitely check it out if you want to. I bought it on Epic Store back in the day, I think. Um, so yeah, definitely check it out. And unfortunately, we're not going to get a sequel, so we can axe that from our list. Star Wars news: Star Wars Outlaws. During the San Diego Comic-Con, there was a panel for Star Wars Outlaws where the devs and people around the game kind of were talking about it. The main thing that I wanted to mention was that the planets that you can explore are being handcrafted. They're not being procedurally generated, so there's going to be some time and care put into developing them and making sure that they're populated with things to do. And then another thing is, of course, you're going to be able to visit Tatooine, where you'll be able to work for and even betray Jabba the Hutt. That's right, the fan favorite slug returning for his next video game experience or appearance. I mean, so yeah, at San Diego Comic Con, the director talked about spending time with his character in his palace, running errands for him, and navigating some of the criminal underworld. And of course, they're not able to talk about it too much, but that was a good amount of information for me, and I felt like that's a pretty cool arc for the game. I feel like it'd be pretty cool to meet Jabba the Hutt in the game and mess around with him a little bit. Maybe do a few jobs for him and maybe destroy his rancor. Yeah, I don't know. Um, So yeah, this Star Wars Outlaws game is looking pretty promising, sounding pretty promising. As a Ubisoft experience, it might be a step in the totally right direction, right next to Assassin's Creed Mirage. So I guess we'll wait and see what's happening. But so far, I think the hype is getting justified now. I think that the reveal stuff looked really good, and I think that the little snippets of information we're getting also sound pretty good so far. So I'm really interested in seeing more about this game, and I hope that you are too. But I like to keep my hype in check, of course. Speaking of hype, though, that new Futurama season is going to be pretty good. I think I watched the first episode; it was great. And now you can play as characters from Futurama in Fortnite. That's right, Bender. Shiny metal ray gun has been added to the game along with other accessories and costumes. So we have the Bender outfit, who has a Ben Rodriguez back bling and a unbendable girder pickaxe. You can also play as Fry, who has a Hypnotoad back bling and a giant Nutcracker pickaxe. And finally, you can play as Leela with a Nibbler backpack and a solid gold Fiddler pickaxe. Along with that, the Planet Express ship glider is there, and a Zoidberg scuttle emote will be available for you to use as well if you want to check that out. I don't usually talk about Fortnite skin drops, but this one was close to the heart. And finally, for the news today, Xbox has officially created the world's first ever pizza scented controller. So essentially, these can only be won by entering into a contest on Twitter/X. Essentially, they are four controllers based on each of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, and Leonardo. And essentially, they all come with an attachable pizza slice that emits pizza smells. Now, there isn't a game coming out for this movie, but I think these controllers are pretty cool looking. They got like this green slime effect with each of the turtles on there. And of course, they got the pizza emitter, scent emitters coming out the back. So yeah, the competition is live now. If you want to check that out, you got to go over to Xbox Game Pass on Twitter and sign up for that or retweet the post or whatever. I think that it's an interesting way of doing things. I mean, remember the Sonic controllers that were fuzzy, the red and blue fuzzy Sonic controllers. So Xbox is definitely going kind of kooky with their creations, but I like it. I think they should keep going with that. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. All right, Blasphemous 2 had a new trailer. The pre-order trailer actually is live now, and they confirmed that the game is coming on August 24th once again across the board here. And this gameplay trailer showed off a few more weapons that you'll be using. There's like this giant staff with a ball on it that has like some sort of electrical or fire ability. I mean, there was this like I don't know, nunchuck looking thing. I guess there was like a spiky, spiny sword. All the things that you would want to use in the Blasphemous universe. A dual sword as well, a dagger and a sword. They also showed off some of the more like there's some more puzzle aspects in there, like dodging certain things. There was also this like really cool animation of there's like these Bell characters in the original game who kind of like are really annoying. And then this one they showed off like the Blasphemous character like wrapping them in vines and then splitting them open. Kind of cool. Maybe a new execution here or there. So yeah, I mean the game looks slick as ever. It looks great. The pixel art was always a big draw for the original game. We played that on stream actually, and which is surprising because I don't usually play Souls-like games on stream, unless they're Bloodborne. um, so that's a big surprise for me personally that I did that. But yeah, Blasphemous 2 looking really good. Definitely check that out. It's pre-orders are available now for the physical versions of the game if you want to check that out. I don't think there's anything special to go along with those pre-orders, but I mean, it's an indie developer, and if there's any game that you're going to pre-order, it'd probably be Blasphemous 2 because Blasphemous 1 was so good. This one I feel like is going to be even better, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm on the side of hype in this one though. All right, Sonic Superstars. All the Chaos Emerald powers have been revealed in a Game Informer interview with one of the creators or creative officers, Takashi Lizuka, who showcased all the Emerald powers in a video. So let's kind of go through them here. The Blue Emerald creates multiple clones of the character and will defeat nearly any enemy, which is also handy for bosses. The Red Emerald, useful action to blast characters in any direction, can be activated in midair. The Cyan Emerald, water, easily traverse underwater sections, can climb up waterfalls. The Green Emerald, grow vines from the character's standing point to reach new heights. The Purple Emerald, uncover hidden platforms and rings. Yellow Emerald, slows down everything, makes challenges easier to overcome. And then the White Emerald is a character specific ability. So if Sonic is holding that, he'll have a homing attack. Gives classic Sonic his modern homing attack. Amy, hammer throw. You can literally throw Amy's hammer at enemies. Knuckles, you'll be able to punch anything and everything. And then Tails will have a tornado spin. Tails will create a tornado, taking out enemies in his path. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. If you want to check out the entire video for the breakdown of the different powers, just head over to Game Informer's YouTube channel and search that out. Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2 has officially been announced. I know there was a couple leaks back way when, there was a couple weeks ago, but it's official. All-Star Brawl 2 has been announced, and I mean, this looks like a major improvement over the last game, not only graphically, but just kind of quality of life-wise, because the original game didn't have, like, any voice acting and stuff like that originally when it came out, which is just super weird, especially for a Nickelodeon game with so many recognizable characters, right? And this one, they start out directly with voice lines being in the game. They revealed that Squidward is going to be one of the new characters. He has a bunch of different moves there. And then towards the end of this one, they showed off that Jimmy Neutron is also joining the fight. One of my favorite shows when I was a kid, next to Ed, Edd and Eddy. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that the Teenage Robot is a new character in this one as well. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more, new characters arriving. And the original Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl was good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it's also like, why is there a reason to play it, right? Like, unless you're playing with friends. But the new game is going to have voice clips and also a single-player mode. The villain of the Danny Phantom universe is apparently going to be the main head honcho for this one, which is kind of cool, kind of a forgotten character at this point. So that's going to be cool that there's actually going to be a single-player mode, some new gameplay mechanics, and of course the voice acting is big. So, and I think this one's going to include all the characters from the last game as well, including the ones they added later on, like Garfield and stuff like that. So, hey, a step up in a lot of different ways. Definitely worth checking this out. I don't believe that there is a release date yet, but you can pre-order it now for pretty much every platform. Speaking of brawls and just a mishmash of characters, DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing has been revealed. We've had a lot of kart races recently, from Hot Wheels to Disney, and DreamWorks is no stranger to making kart racers. There was one back in the PS3 era with the characters back then. This one doesn't even have a trailer yet, but they showed off a lot of screenshots. Oh, maybe it does have a trailer. It does have a trailer. But yeah, there's a lot of different screenshots, and the trailer was shown off, revealing a bunch of different characters coming to the game, like Po from Kung Fu Panda, one of the bad guys from The Bad Guys, Shrek, Donkey, Fiona. Who's that? I can't tell who that person is. It's a little bit too blurry there. Poe's master. I don't remember his name. But yeah, there's a lot of fun, quirky characters. I'm sure there's going to be many more where that came from. The game will allow 4-player split screen or 8-player online races. You'll be able to, there's also various game modes, free race, cups, challenges, time trials. It looks like there's going to be 20 playable characters, including Shrek, Donkey, Puss in Boots, Boss Baby, Poe, Tigress, Hiccup. Those are the ones that they've revealed so far. Players will also be able to activate special switches on each track, uncovering hidden shortcuts as well. Sounds pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to pick this up right away, especially if it's like a, $60 game. But, me, I love Shrek, and if Shrek's in a game, probably going to pick that up, I've played the bad ones, I'll play the good ones. Or switch that around. I played the good ones. I'll play the bad ones. But yeah, it just kind of seems kind of crazy that they're just kind of like farting. Maybe not farting this out, but definitely putting this out at a weird time when Disney's kart racer is just getting going too. And maybe this one will feel better. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Broforce Forever finally has a reveal date, and they showed off a couple of characters that you can use in the game as well. So the date for this big update is going to be in August, on August 8th. So the original release Broforce, which released all the way back in 2015, will be updated to the Broforce Forever, which will be a a big update to the action-packed side-scrolling running gun. Essentially, it's going to add some new characters, some new enemies. Well, I'm sorry, it's new bros, new enemies, and new stages to play on. Some of the new bros are Z-Bro, Warrior Princess, Demolition Bro, Bert Bromer, Seth Brondel, and Brophy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, pretty cool. Good update there. The reason it's called Broforce Forever is because August 8th marks a major update for the game featuring improved and expanded campaigns, 6 new bros, 4 new challenge levels, and a whole bunch of bug fixes. Yeah, if you want to check out the trailer for that, it's on Devolver Digital's YouTube channel. I think it's great that they're showing some more love to this game because it was definitely very popular back in the day when I was younger, and I would definitely love to play through it again with all these new characters. So there you go. Speaking of games that came out quite a while ago that are getting updates, Slender the Arrival. Now, this originally appeared on like Steam and Xbox and stuff like that. It was a a hit, I would say. Definitely started some sort of cult movement about this Slender Man character. So Slender the Arrival, quote unquote, remastered. Is coming around. This one's called the 10-year anniversary update. So essentially, they've updated every single texture in the game, all the different areas you go to, the lighting effects and stuff like that. Slender Man is back, and this actually looks a lot. I mean, obviously, it's going to look a lot better than the original game, but there is some nostalgia for a lot of people. You know, even though that original game was very asset heavy and just kind of like unpolished, seeing it in like this crazy new Unreal Engine 5 makeover is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. And this is coming October 2023. In a post on their, I guess, blog or something like that, they said, "We are thrilled to announce that Slender the Arrival, the spine-chilling horror game that captivated millions of players, is about to become even more terrifyingly immersive. Brace yourselves for a huge update coming in October as we introduce a complete visual overhaul utilizing the latest and greatest technologies from Unreal Engine 5. Right now they're saying it's going to come to Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. I don't think it's coming to Switch just yet, but definitely a cult classic game in a lot of ways nowadays. And it's great that they are showing it some love 10 years later. So if you want to check that out, like I said, it's coming in October. We don't have a specific release date just yet. Payday 3, the closed beta is coming around, and it's not going to be on PlayStation. It's actually not going to be a PlayStation at all. So Xbox and Steam is getting the beta, the closed beta, between the 2nd and 7th of August. But the PS5 is not getting the beta at all, even though the game is technically coming to it on the 24th of September. No reason was given to why the PS5 wasn't mentioned in the article or whatever, the trailer. So it's possible that maybe it's just a little bit later launch, or maybe it is coming, but they just forgot about it. I don't know. You can request access from their Steam page and their website. More slots will be opening throughout the week of its beta, so even if you don't get in right away, maybe you'll be able to be added later. Players can run missions solos, but it will require a consistent internet connection to keep playing, which is of course going to annoy a lot of people. But this is a majorly online, game. I'm not sure why they're not going to put it on the beta on PlayStation, even though they're launching the game on PlayStation. Seems kind of fishy to me, but we'll see where it goes. And Payday is Payday is a huge franchise. Hasn't had a game in quite some time, just like a lot of the other games that we're seeing nowadays. So I think that a lot of people are going to be diving on this. It's probably going to be pretty swarmed on release day. I'm guaranteeing it's going to do a lot better than that World War II shooter that they made quite some time ago. Last week, I talked about Ratantan, which is a spiritual successor to Patapon, and the dev actually put out a trailer for the game, which was unexpected because the Kickstarter hasn't even started yet, I'm pretty sure. But once again, if you want to check out the Kickstarter, just go over the Kickstarter and type in Ratatan. And essentially, it's exactly what you expect a spiritual successor to look like. There's a lot of colorful characters. I believe they said there's over 100 characters to meet and play with. Essentially, it's a rhythm-based game, so you kind of like tap along to the beat with the different characters, and they attack for you. It definitely looks like Patapon, except a little bit more brighter colors out there, a bit more in-depth, a little bit more fleshed out character design, I guess I should say. New skills and abilities, some bosses in there. Looks pretty cool. Definitely going to be checking that out when it eventually comes around. But of course, it's probably not going to come around for a little while. But this does confirm that they have been working on the game before the Kickstarter started, so that's good. That's actually good news for people who want to, or may be a little bit leery about, funding the project. At least there's actually something, that you can see that they've been working on. The game definitely looks like it's in a good state right now, as opposed to a lot of games that kind of like launch a Kickstarter and then, they forget about it. The company behind Fist, Forged, and Shadow Torch announced a new game called The Winds Rising. So this is coming from TI Games or TI Games. They didn't really show off too much about it, just some a visual of a statue being zoomed out on and then showing some overgrowth around it. I really enjoyed Fist, Forged, and Shadow Torch. It was one of my favorite games the year that it came out. So TI Games has announced this during Sony's latest China Hero project that showcases developers in China. The next title in their repertoire is going to be a story-driven action RPG named The Winds Rising. It'll be releasing on PS5. The reveal trailer doesn't really give anything away, but they said it's going to be a grand adventure about a female main character who encounters a lost monster cub that can affect the rise and fall of an entire kingdom. Which looks. That sounds pretty cool. I definitely am intrigued. So yeah, this is the first of other actually, this was the first of a few different newly announced games coming from this China Hero project that Sony is doing. So other games, The Godslayer and Daba Lands of Watermarks, are also coming around. So yeah, we'll wait to hear more about that in the future. If you haven't checked out Fist, Forge, and Shadow Torch and you like Metroidvanias, it's one of my favorites. I would definitely recommend checking that out. Alright, Nintendo has added 2 new games to the Game Boy Color library, and they're 2 Zelda classics. One of them is The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, and the other one is The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. What's the difference between the 2 games? I can't personally tell you. I know they're 2 different games. So yeah, but once again, I never played them back in the day. But yeah, these both were originally released on the handheld system in 2001. The games can be played individually in any order, but you'll get even more out of the experience if you play both of them and make use of the password system. So by linking 2 games through their password system, some characters and enemies will change between the 2 adventures. Items can be upgraded or transported, and you can even discover the true evil force moving fruitively behind the scenes. It takes a hero of the ages and seasons to truly defeat it. So it looks like both these games are kind of required hand in hand to play in order to get a true ending on either of the games. Pretty interesting. So yeah, those are actually available now, I believe, if you want to check either of those out. The PlayStation Plus Essential games for August have been announced, and they are PGA Tour 2K23, Dreams, and Death's Door. Dreams is only a PS4 version, but you can play it on PS5, I'm pretty sure. But this is actually a pretty good lineup for me personally. I know that there's a few people out there who are like, ugh, sports games. Ugh, these games are old, right? I feel like there's a positive energy around Death's Door for sure. But yeah, I haven't played a PGA game in quite some time, or a golf game in general, other than Mario Golf. So it'll be fun, or maybe interesting, to check that out, Dreams, I never got around to playing that or buying it, so that's actually a really good one for me. I'll actually be able to play that and see what it's all about. The only caveat is that I believe that the last update for the game is coming soon, and then they're gonna stop updating it. But it'll still be you'll still be able to play, the games that people make, and you'll be able to make your own games. So I guess it's not a big loss there. And then Death's Door, that was a high listing ranking game on my top 10 list the year that it came out. Very good Souls esque top down hack and slash. Very fun art style, very good boss fights, and just a good vibe all around. So definitely check that one out if any of these games on this list. So all these will be available on the first Tuesday of August, which is actually August 1st. So they'll be available between August 1st and the 5th of September. That's when the next batch will pop out. So there you go. And finally for today, here is the final Games with Gold for August. So this is the final batch of titles ever for Games with Gold. So we have Blue Fire, which is coming between August 1st and 31st, and Inertial Drift, Inertial Drift, which is also between the 1st and 31st of August. You can claim those games. Not too bad, honestly, of a selection for Games with Gold. Blue Fire, kind of like an indie gem kind of game. It's like a Souls-like third-person action game. Lots of platforming in there as well. And then in Internal Drift, I'm pretty sure this is an arcade racer with a very good, like a really nice art style. Essentially, like the most arcade thing ever is just drifting endlessly on these tracks. They're designed around just drifting and drifting and drifting. So pretty cool. I do like the visual style of that, and it also has a pretty bumpin' soundtrack if you want to check that out. So not too bad. This is definitely. I mean, it's not a huge bang, to go out on, but it's pretty good. I feel like they saved two pretty good games for last out of the games they've been releasing for quite some time. So there you go. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Do appreciate that. Let's go ahead and listen to what the song of the week is. To try and guess this song, if you give me the name or close enough to it and the game that's from, I will give you a super reaction in the Discord, or I will give you a heart in the YouTube comments. That's right. Let's go ahead and listen to what today's song is, and if you can tell me what game it's from, props to you. Let's listen to that right now. All right, if you know that song, let me know in the Discord or in the comments on YouTube. All right, folks. If you want to check out what other things I do, we stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We did stream every day this past week because it's the end of our PlayStation Plus contest. Essentially, I've been playing PlayStation Plus games on a spinning wheel, randomly selected from a spinning wheel for the past 2 months now. So that's coming to an end, which is it's kind of sad to see it go. We're going out on a bang though, literally, not really. Super Exploding Zoo will be the final game that we play. I might stream on Sunday, which is the day that this is probably going to come out. If not, I'll be streaming on Monday as usual. So yeah, thank you to everyone who participated in the contest for that. It's been fun. I was going to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, but when I loaded up my save file from the cloud, it wasn't where I thought it was going to be. The last save I had in the cloud was from the sewers, which doesn't make any sense to me, because even though I deleted Final Fantasy VII Remake from my PlayStation, it still would have saved the save data on my console storage and updated the cloud version. And it doesn't make sense that I like the sewers is the last time I saved, because I know for a fact that we went pretty like I know for a fact that we did a lot, but I know for a fact that we definitely had saved and quit before or after the sewers, I should say. So it doesn't make any sense that it would start me at the sewers. I don't know what happened to my other save file, but that really derailed what I wanted to do for the end of this competition, which was finish Final Fantasy VII Remake finally. Give it the old college try, But I can't even do that now. The game that keeps on giving me pain is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't even attempt to try and finish it, because now I'm all the way back at the sewers, and it would take me at least like 10 or 20 hours to get back to Sephiroth at this point, which is just super disappointing. So I apologize for all the confusion. I was really hoping that that was going to be the big bombastic ending, but alas, it is not, and I'm disappointed and frustrated at the same time. So all I can say is fuck that game. I'm not finishing it ever, I guess. I'm going to put it back on the abandoned list and keep it there for good, I guess, because I'm not willing to play through more than an hour or so of gameplay for that game, especially with how frustrated I was with it when we originally lost our save data. So, whoop-de-doo. And you might be asking, what happened, Yemmy? Well, I was playing on a Saturday, and I had been playing for at least 5 hours that day, and I was kind of done with the game. We had gotten to the Sephiroth boss fight, and I was kind of hitting my head against a wall trying to beat him. And instead of, lowering the difficulty or, taking a small break and coming back, I closed out of the game and said, we'll get back to this on Monday or whatever. And we came back to it on Monday, and they reset me back all the way to the highway before the boss fights, which was a couple hours of gameplay. And I was just so distraught, and I just said, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. And so now, yeah, fuck that, I'm done. I'm not willing to play through that much of the game to get to the ending just to say I beat it, And yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there who have beaten the game, and you know what? Congratulations, I'm glad for you. But it's just a game that I was just so miserable while playing. I can't bring myself to continue, to do so much again. I was willing to give it another college try, especially if they started me right at the highway. I was willing to do that, but they crushed my hopes and dreams once again. So I apologize to anyone who was excited about that. I know I announced it on stream, but about 5 minutes later, I realized that my save was not where I thought it was. So that was a bit of confusing. I'm sorry about that. So, there's that. So yeah, that's the, Final Fantasy VII. Like I said, it's a game that keeps bringing me pain. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I do appreciate that. Like I said before, if you want to check me out anywhere else, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, etc., it's all at Yemmy the Ferret. Yemmy the Ferret VODs is my VODs channel where I upload streams and shorts. So if you want to subscribe to that, I'd appreciate that as well. And I also do a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z, where we talk about movies. The latest episode is about Air Bud. If you want to check that out, it's fresh off the presses. Make sure you check that out on YouTube or podcast platforms. And I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.